So good morning, everyone. We may have some people still coming, but I want to get started on time. My name is Susan Hall, and I am the Director of Training with Sensity. So it's my pleasure to be here today and to welcome our speakers for this session. I want to introduce to you Leah Morar and, Ines Weber, okay? So just a little bit about Leah here. Leah works as a special educational needs teacher for the deafblind at the institution Nikolauspflege in Stuttgart, Germany. She's part of the project Hand in Hand, development and implementation of a qualification program, and works as a special needs teacher for children with visual impairment and complex disabilities. In 2022, Leah graduated from the University of Education in Heidelberg, Germany, with a degree in special needs education, majoring in pedagogy for the blind and visually impaired, and pedagogy for the hearing impaired. In addition, she completed the course of special needs education for the deafblind. Furthermore, she worked as a research assistant in the research project IKI-TAU, development of a screening and assessment tool for the deafblind at the University of Education in Heidelberg. Now, Ines. Yeah, as if that wasn't enough, now we've got Ines. Ines works as a special educational needs teacher for the deafblind at the same institution in Stuttgart. I'm not going to try and say it again. She's also part of the project Hand in Hand and works as a counselor for children with visual impairment and complex disabilities and as a special needs teacher. In 2018, Ines graduated from the University of Education as well, with a degree in special needs education, majoring in pedagogy for the hearing impaired and for learning support. In addition to working as a counselor for children with deafblindness and as a research assistant for the same research project, IKI-TAU, at the University of Education in Heidelberg, she completed a Master of Science in Communication and Deafblindness at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. Please join me in welcoming Ines and Leah.
Well, now you know everything about us that there's to know. All right, I'll start off here on top, but I think I'll probably be moving around a bit. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. It's quite a few people. We're happy with that. My name is Ines, and I'm just going to describe myself real shortly. I'm a young woman with white skin, aged 30, almost 31, with short brown hair. I'm wearing some light beige trousers and a black shirt. And Leah?
Yeah, hello everyone. Let me introduce myself. I am Leah Maurer. I'm a 26-year-old woman with white skin, brown hair to the shoulder, and I'm wearing a black pants and a shirt with flowers.
All right, and before we talk to you today about the development of our project Hand in Hand at our institution, first of all, let me thank you and thank the DBI on behalf of us and on behalf of the Nikolauspflege Stuttgart, or the Stiftung Nikolauspflege, so Foundation Nikolauspflege, for the opportunity to speak here today. Also, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to our institution for sending us here today. Our CEO, Mrs. Anne Reichmann, I guess she's in Denver right now at the Visio conference, but also our CEO, Mr. Roland Fleig, is here today. Thank you for the support, because without the interest and the appreciation and the understanding of how important the issue of deafblindness is, we wouldn't be here today presenting our project. Right, now let's get started. So, as I said earlier, we're presenting the project we're working in, and it's about the development of professional competencies in the field of deafblindness in a school or an institution for the visually impaired and blind with additional complex disabilities. Let me first show you a slide with our table of contents. It's divided in 5 parts, so we'll start with a short presentation about our foundation and then move on to the introduction to our project team, because it's not just the 2 of us. Leah will then continue with the aims of the project and the achievements that we've reached so far, and I will finish off with the qualification program. And yeah, I guess we're trying to get through in time so that we can have some questions afterwards. Right, now let's try this. Yeah, that's working as well. Very good. So our foundation, the Stiftung Nikolauspflege, it was founded over 160 years ago. And in the last decades, it became the leading competence center for the blind and the visually impaired with additional or multiple disabilities in Germany. And we've got people of all ages, so we start with the early childhood sector, we've got school education, we've got different counseling services, we've got the adult education and also residential living. And here you can also see our logo of the foundation. And also, we've got on the next slide a picture of our current campus. It's built right now, and we're hoping to move in next year. So all of our schools and all of our classes can actually move into one huge building. And I think we're on time, so we can move in next year. Let's move on to the project team. In the picture above, you can see our project manager, Mrs. Sabine Stoll. She is the head of the early childhood and preschool department. And underneath that, you can see Dr. Maren Marx. She's our project leader. She's currently in Germany. She's also a special needs educator like us with, well, different majors. However, she just finished her PhD studies last year in tactile sign language in the context of congenital deafblindness. That's us. I think you've heard enough about what we do and who we are. So let's just move on to Leah.
Thank you. So moving on to the 3rd point in our table of contents, the aims of the project. But before we talk about our aims, I would like to give you some general information about the project. The project Hand in Hand is one of 4 projects that the Nikolauspflege has started to maintain and build up the professional competences in the field of deafblindness. The duration is 3 years, so from 2021 to 2024, we were supported by the Lipoid Stiftung and the Aktion Mensch Stiftung, which are foundations who support social projects. Our target group includes children with deafblindness as well as employers of our institution of the sectors early childhood and school sectors. So now I'd like to consider our main aim. It's the development of the professional competences in the field of deafblindness in the sectors of early childhood and school sector. But why are we a competence center for people with blindness, visual impairment and complex disability dealing with the topic of deafblindness? So in 2017, deafblindness was recognized as an independent disability in Germany. And since then, the perception of the dual sensory loss has changed. And in recent years, there are more and more people with deafblindness have been educated and supported in our institution, but, and that's the important point, without special knowledge or expertise in the field of deafblindness. So that's the reason why the Nikolauspflege has started several projects. How can we achieve the main aim in practice? So to achieve our main aim, we have 3 sub-objectives that are pursued. The first one, A, is to identify children or people with deafblindness with complex disabilities. B, to qualify employees. And C, to set up a medical and therapeutic network as well as public relations. So now let's have a closer look to the 3 sub-objectives. Regarding the first one, the identification of deafblindness in children with complex disabilities, the tool IKI-TAU will be used. So IKI-TAU is an acronym meaning identification of people with deafblindness. And it's a screening and assessment tool to assess the functional vision and hearing of people with complex disabilities. And the tool is currently being developed at the University of Heidelberg by Professor Dr. Andrea Wanka. So let's turn to our second sub-objective. Thanks. The qualification of our employees in the field of deafblindness is to be achieved through sign language courses and through a qualification program. And turning our attention now here to the qualification program. So we are currently conducting the qualification program, and the following figure will explain this more clearly. So in the center at circle, there are the trained employees who have participated in our training. So that's the reason why they will called trained employees. And they have, after our training, background knowledge and professional competences in the field of deafblindness. In the left yellow circle, there are the untrained employees who have not participated in our training. And here in the right green circle, you can see the external counselors for deafblindness who counsel our children only every 6 to 8 weeks. So that's the reason why the trained employees are the link between these two groups. Because these are, in contrast to the external counselors, available on a daily basis for the untrained employees to support them with specific questions in the field of deafblindness. And Ines will go into more detail about the qualification program later. Oh, yeah, thank you. So the third sub-objective is called networking and public relations. That means to establish contact with doctors, pet audiologists, hearing care professionals, speech therapists, and other professionals. Also, we participate in congresses, committees, conferences like the DBI, or next week another one in Germany. And yeah, next year we plan to publish papers in journals. Well, so let us now turn to the third point in our table of contents, the achievements since the start of our project in 2021, as I mentioned earlier. Our first achievement was the provision of assistive devices. So after a first survey with our employees concerning the needs, we purchased hearing aid test kits. The employees were then trained in the use of the hearing aid test kits. So here on this slides are two pictures. And in the left picture, you can see a test kit for hearing aids. And this consists of a battery measuring device, a blower pulp, and a stethoscope. And in the right picture, you can see Ines showing a colleague how to use it. All right, so another purchase was materials for self-experience under simulation, which are soundproof headphones and obscured glasses. And in both pictures on this slide, there are two of our colleagues under simulation with their hearing and seeing partner guiding them. Okay, now it's your turn, Ines.
Thank you, Leah. Is that what? Yeah, it's working again. So another of our achievements is the use or unification of the sign language system to the German Sign Language in all of our sectors, so early childhood, school, adult education. And you might ask yourself, why is that why is that an achievement? Well, we have been using signs in our institution for years and years on. However, those signs or those systems were not of the German Sign Language. There were adaptations for people with multiple disabilities or with cognitive disabilities. And what we thought was a bit problematic there was because we do have a lot of children coming in at the early age, but then they might change their school. So when they change a school where the German Sign Language is used, and that's in most of our schools in Germany in the last few years, they wouldn't have the assets of using the German Sign Language. So that's why we unified just last year the system and the vocabulary in all educational sectors. Now, of course, our employees and our students and grown-ups, they have to learn the new sign language or the German Sign Language, but we established various approaches to do so. So we planned and we already implemented a couple of sign language courses, either online or in person, in presence. For now, it were 38 participants online courses and 14 in person. And in December, we'll have more sign language courses, and we're just hoping to establish a running project that every year we've got 2 or 3 or 4 courses. Here you can actually see a picture of our colleagues introducing themselves to the sign language teacher. You can see him here in the maroon shirt. His name is Benjamin Gutwein. He's a person with Usher syndrome. So we thought, as a sign language teacher of the German Sign Language, he's the perfect person to do so, because he knows what it means to be a person with deafblindness and what these people need specifically. On this slide, you can actually see Leah with 2 of our students, and another achievement in the sector of sign language, because we got a sign language app dictionary for all of our tablets in the sectors of early childhood and school. And like this, our teachers, they can create learning lists for our students, for lesson contents, they can share them. Yeah, and that's just, we find that very helpful. Also, we established the sign of the week, which is a chosen sign that changes every other week, and that's like a low threshold approach to learning signs. On this slide, oh, that was too fast. On this one, you can actually see the sign heiß, hot. And also we got a database of sign language images, which are basically the screenshots of this application. So here in this slide you can see a lesson content. So I think it's actually yours, Leah, isn't it? So this is like a song that we use, or what she uses in her classroom every morning. And so she took the screenshots and created some lesson content. And these are actually, yeah, the same pictures as you get in the videos of the application. All right, now we've got the part number 5, the qualification program, which is, as we consider right now, our most important part, since we've been working in the last basically 2 years towards establishing and implementing it. As you can see here, you can see a lot. Let me explain it to you. So this is a time span from May 2023 to November 2023. And amongst this time span, we've got all our 7 modules and a little follow-up here placed. So that's the basic concept. We've got 7 modules in 5 months. We got then in contact with national and international experts on different fields of deaf-blind education. And most importantly for us was that it's not just a theoretical input, because we're not a university and that's not what we're providing, but what we are providing is a transfer from the theoretical and the practical knowledge into their daily practice and into what our employees do every single day. That's why we also use, oh, that was too fast again. That's why we also use video recordings from our own institutions, because our employees, they know their children, they know their students, so that's the easiest access to that. By using our own video recordings, we also introduced video analysis, because as we all know how important video analysis is in the field of deafblindness, this was also a crucial and major point for us. Also, and we're quite happy with that, we've got a cooperation with another school for the visually impaired and the blind in Berlin, with one of my former colleagues, because she's doing a quite similar thing in building up a deaf-blind center, and some of her colleagues are actually taking part in our qualification program in a online access. So here you can also see some of our employees in training. I think this was also the first or the second day, and you can see Maren at the front. All in all, we've got 26 participants, 26 employees, and we split a group, so it's 2 groups on 2 different days. So we've got a smaller number of participants on each day, so that we've got a lot of practical parts where our employees are under simulation, and so our experts and our lecturers, they can actually work with a much smaller group, and yeah, it's so much easier to ask questions and discuss what happens in your daily life. And then we also got 3 participants with the online access, and surprisingly this works very well. So they also got all of the material that we are using, and they just do it together in a group of 3. What is also quite interesting is the backgrounds of the employees. So, because this group is just as heterogeneous as the group of deaf-blind people, really, because we've got special educational needs teacher, we've got a nurse taking part, we've got therapists for physical therapy or occupational therapy, and educators of all kind. So they're all coming together. This is quite funny because I think it was module number 2. Yeah, I think it was module number 2. And as a starter, to get a bit of a warm-up, we asked our employees to go on the simulation and line themselves up with the initial letter of their first name on the simulation, and it turns out it's quite difficult. But again, this just shows how important it is to use this method. So, as you can see, we're now in July, close to August. It's not August yet. So we've already finished module 1, module 2. I'll say a bit later about module 3 later. And we started with module 4. For the introduction, module 1, which was mostly about the prevalency of deaf-blindness and causes. We had a master student, Sophia Betz is her name, who actually evaluated this module. So the scientific monitoring is highly important for us, because for now it's the first run of the project, but we need to know that what we're doing is good and makes sense, and so we can re-evaluate it and maybe improve it for the next time. So what she did was a partly standardized questionnaire, including 18 items. I just included some of them here. I can just read them from the page. So she asked the experiences of the employees that they had previously with deaf-blindness, an overall impression, how the module was implemented, and so on. This, however, now there will be 2 figures, and this first figure was one of the questions of the questionnaire, and it was how much contact have you, so the employees, have had with people with deaf-blindness in the past. And as you can see, 32% of our employees or trainers have had contact for several years, 12 of them several times a day, 18% almost daily, and so on. 22% at least once a week, at least once a month, it was only 6. Less frequent than once a month, also only 6, and only 4%, none. So I think that just shows how important it is to qualify your own employees in the field of deaf-blindness, because we do have the children with deaf-blindness amongst us. Is it a school for the visually impaired, or the blind, or the children with hearing disabilities? They are usually there, but they are not identified. On the next slide, which is quite similar, you can see the question of how much contact have you had with people with deaf-blindness at the moment. And here you can see 13% several times a day, 23% almost every day, 26% at least once a week, once a month. It was 13%, less frequent than a month, 6%, and none. So all of our employees have contact with people with deafblindness on a regular basis. And this just showed us how it just really made us confident in that what we're doing is the right thing, and that we need to establish a program like that more often, so that more than, let's say, just 26 to 29 employees can take part, because we are a huge institution, so we've got a lot of people to train. So again, I showed you, or I told you already earlier, that in May we started with module number 1 with the introduction to deafblindness. This one was already evaluated, and she's writing her master's now, and we're quite happy with how far she's come already. In June, we had a hybrid module with Prof Dr. Andrea Wanka. So she was in Heidelberg online, and we were in Stuttgart all together. And in that topic, we were speaking about the creation of concept of the world, and to get a first understanding of how it is to be a person with deafblindness. And she had a huge focus on the practical part, which is why we planned modules on the same day, with module 3 with syndromes. However, the practical part took that much time that we had to postpone the syndromes to October this year. But our employees were super eager to learn, and they all requested to add another day into the program. In July, just about 2 weeks ago, we had our colleague Barbara Latzelsberger from Vienna flying into Stuttgart, and she presented her part on communication. The module 4 communication part has got actually 3 parts. So part number 1 was about more or less the co-creating communication model and how communication develops in generally. Part number 2 on the same day was about the conventional means of communication, meaning sign language, tactile sign language, LOMS, and our employees also had the chance to try this out. We also had our colleague, or her colleague, Jana Horkava, being in Vienna, but with an online access. She also took part, and she also was a lecturer in this module. As I mentioned so many times before, now you can actually see on these 2 slides our colleagues. I think it was module number 2 with the concept of the world. And again, we have 2 of our employees on the simulation. And the hearing and seeing partner is trying to explain the concept of a chair. You cannot see it right now, but this is actually Sabine Stoll, our project manager. And she's trying to explain to her that what she's got in her hand is a chair. So she has to feel it tactilely. After that, they got up, and then they actually went to a chair and discovered, this is a chair, I can sit down. And this was just trying to do that all without language. So there was no language, no sign language, no spoken language, nothing involved, only from tactile senses. So now we're a bit quick. Yeah, we've got time for questions. That's good. So upcoming from October on, because now it's school holidays in Germany, and we'll be back in mid-September. In October, we'll have the 3rd part of communication, module 4, which is about the unconventional means of communication, meaning, for example, bodily emotional traces, body signs, all sort of these things. Also about the readability of people with complex needs or deafblindness. Module number 5, and this is close to my heart actually, because I'm a teacher for the hearing impaired, is the educational and pediatric audiology. In our institution, all of our employees take part in another qualification program about visual impairment, low vision, visual disability. So that one's already covered, and everybody who starts working with us has to go through that program. But now what about the hearing? We need more information on that. So we've got two of our colleagues, and they are working in the Competence Center San Francisco's in Heiligenbronn, which is about an hour south from us. And they're coming in to talk about their experiences that they have on a daily or weekly basis in the pet audiology. In November, we'll have a follow-up module, and this is also an online module. It's like between, I think, 9 and 12 o'clock. And this is when all of our employees can come into a chat room. We've got a couple of our lecturers there, us are there, and then we can actually discuss what have you learned and what have you seen in your classroom. Have there been any revelations? Have there been any issues? Is there maybe a video you want to present? Have you got a research question? So that's why we got the follow-up module here. And then a couple of weeks later, we finish off with module number 6 on didactics. We've got, as I mentioned earlier, the cooperation with the Zäune-Schule Berlin. And this colleague, she's working on didactics with children or students with deafblindness for a couple of years now. And this is quite important to us because she's working with children who have multiple disabilities and deafblindness, meaning that creating lesson content can be quite challenging. So we're eager to learn from her. And in the afternoon session, we will have module number 7 with adult education, and our colleague Jana Martin, who is also in the DBI conference, and I think she had a poster. She will talk to us about her project, the paths to employment, and also what is happening after school. Because since we're only doing the project for the early childhood in the school department, our students, they grow up, they become adults, but what happens next? And so she gives an insight to what will come. Right. Now, have you got any questions? On this slide, you can actually see also from our digital app, from our sign language app, the sign for the German Fragen. Questions? Have you got any questions? Because now there's time for it. Oh, there we are. That was surprising. Let's start in the front and then go through the room. Yeah.
I have a quick question. What's didactics? What's that mean?
Maybe that's just a very bad German translation. But basically, didactics is what you teach your children. So methodology is how you teach it, and didactics is what you teach. And she's doing a combination of both things. Yeah, methodology is how you do it. So today I'm using a presentation to give my content across. And didactics would be, for example, to make a... how to differentiate your lesson content to different students. Because in Germany, it's quite common that you've got 10 students and 10 different worksheets and differentiations. And basically that's what she's also doing, but not with actual sheets or work on the computer, but with tactile stuff, for example. Yeah.
So you mentioned then, oh, this is Gloria. So you mentioned that you teach 7 modules in 5 months. I wonder how many hours is that total? Because, for example, in Latin America, it's important for teachers when they get a certification to know how many hours was the training, the total hours. So that was one question. And then the other one is, how long is each module? Maybe that's the question about hours. And then when do you train these teachers? Because, of course, they're teaching all day. So when do you train them?
Okay, I'll just take that one as well. So that's a very good point. And since it's 26 people and trainers and teachers and educators, these are 26 people missing on 2 days, so about 13 each day. So that's a problem. But since we've got the support of our institution, we can do it. They're really trying their best that on that day that they're missing, somebody will come and help out. But basically, every module is a whole day. So it starts about 8:30, 9 o'clock and goes up until 4, 4:30 in the afternoon. And then, of course, we've got a couple of breaks, but that's basically how long one module is. And again, what we're doing is not, it cannot be compared to a study course as in Groningen or as with Andrea Wanka, what she's doing. We're not being like in university, but we're trying to get a first grasp, a first feeling of what it is to be deafblind. So all in all, it's 7 days. Now it's 8 days because the syndromes didn't fit in. So now it's 8 days, whole days, and then we've got the follow-up module, which is online. Yeah. And we are lucky enough that most of our employees live around the area of Stuttgart and can come. Actually, I think 2 of our employees, they come from Heidenheim, which is a 3-hour drive. So they're coming in as well, yeah.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm Graciela Ferioli from Argentina, and I have interest to know how you combine the practical part with the theoretical part.
Mm-hmm. So I'll just go back a few slides. I hope it came across quite. So in this module, they were talking about the concepts of the world and how concept of meaning is being created. So Andrea, in her slides, she was talking about how we need to be, for example, in a more tactile modality, so that a child can, for example, learn what a chair is, what it means. Because if we're hearing, seeing, we'll say, oh, this is a chair, can you sit down on the chair? But with deafblindness, this doesn't work necessarily. So the practical aspect would be that our employees are under simulation and try this task. They didn't know what was happening. Only the hearing-seeing partner did know what was happening. They came in under simulation, and then they tried to figure out what the conversation was about. That was basically it. But the practical part is also not just during the courses, but also when they work in their daily lives. Yeah. And that's the important part. So, example, for communication, when we're learning now sign language, now we know how to do this in a tactile modality. Because, of course, our sign language courses, they're all visual. There are small parts on tactile sign language, but only the sign language courses are just visual. So now in that course with Barbara, they learned how to use them in a tactile modality. And then this is why we have the follow-up. Now they can use it in practice. They can try out. They've got their application for the signs. They've got it on their tablet. And now they need to practice it. Easy as that. Easy as that.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. That's okay.
Hi, my name's Sarika. I'm from Ireland, and one of the biggest issues we have is lack of recognition for deafblindness, and I can see from this that a lot of pathways opened up for you when that was recognised. We do something kind of similar to this, but it's more of an awareness course we do. I'm just wondering, does the qualification that the people that do this course at the end, is that recognised throughout the country, or is it just something within your organisation?
Yeah, at the moment it's just recognised within our organisation. But what you said as an awareness course, actually there is already an awareness course for deafblindness in the institution running, but that's just I think it's a 2-day course, and that's even more basic than what we're doing, so that you just get to know, ooh, hearing and vision isn't 1 and 1 is 2. That's what we're doing here, but that's a bit more improved. And actually, at the moment, we're talking with our institution to have this training, same as the visual impairment training and the training on low vision and whatever, that needs to be done when you start working for us. But of course, still in our institution, we had to convince our employees that was important. It wasn't that we came and they said, "Ooh, we're lucky to do another training session," but now that they've experienced what it is, and all of them are here on a freely, they want to come. It's not that they have to come, but that's how we grasp them. And we just thought we'll just have a first run now. They should spread the word. We've got after that 26 multipliers working in their classrooms and Thing is, we should have said that earlier, in the Nikolauspflege we've got different school sectors, but they're all spread across Stuttgart. This is why we need the new campus. So because we are all spread across Stuttgart, we need trainers in every institution basically. But when they get all together in the campus, we hope that it spreads more easily. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Hey, thank you, Leah and Ines. It's Jude here. A question regarding, this is the staff who become, they become more knowledgeable about deafblindness, and then you have the assessment tool, which is the IKI-TAU. Is the same staff going to be involved in the assessment? Because what will happen apart from being aware of, are they also going to be good in this subtle understanding of deafblindness? So are they the same staff which are going to be used in the assessment phase?
Yeah, so actually all of the 26 employees that are now with us, they will be in another program, and they don't really have a choice because now they've already done the first training, so they are also willing to do the second training on the assessment and screening tool. But because, you know a bit about the screening tool, I'm not sure. So Leah mentioned earlier, it's about the functional and hearing, hearing in a functional manner. It's a screening and assessment, so it's no medical diagnostic. It's not pet audiology. That's not to be like verwechselt, I don't know the English word, but confused, thank you very much. But since there's such a high need to train our employees also in this screening tool, much more people will be trained in that. But then again, we had the issue of how many people can we take away from our courses on a daily basis, so we cannot train all of them on the same day. So this will be a gradual thing. So also the counseling service, it's mandatory for the counseling service for all of those to be trained with the IKI-TAU tool, so they can actually use it in practice as soon as it's basically published, which is hopefully by the end of this or start of next year.
Hi, I forgot to mention my name. It's Sue Graham. I'm in Ontario. We spoke, as you know, before this, and it's kind of a follow-up to what Jude had asked, I guess. Regarding the functional vision and hearing, I can't remember, when I signed up for the courses a few months ago, maybe it was an online or hybrid option. Was there a course for that specifically, for assessing functional vision and hearing, or maybe you read your bios, maybe that's what it was. But definitely interested in that because I want to pass that information to my optometrist. And she has a daughter that's deafblind, and she's in Whitby, and she's a fantastic optometrist. If you're looking for an optometrist in Ontario, just so you know, Whitby, we have one that has a deafblind daughter, and she's great for functional vision. But I wanted to pass the information to her what I learned. And same with audiology, and my issue with more is audiology specifically, as we discussed. I find it so difficult with Alex because being deafblind and with Charge syndrome, it's not meaningful. But even when the audiologist is aware to look for tiny movements, he doesn't care until it's loud, and so I think he's over amplified. So, and he won't wear his hearing aids. That's basically what we discussed. So I just want to, and then I'd like for him to wear his hearing aids again. But as he's getting older, it seems like, he's more aware of himself. But anyway, it's just a challenge. It's just like he's a mystery, like every deafblind kid. But I guess and then I'm interested in getting that information, however it is, and connecting with, was it Andrea
Wanka?
I think she's the one in charge of that WhatsApp. I remember that name. So anyway, there's so many connections. I'm really overwhelmed with all the information. But I want to get all this information. I'm sure like everyone else.
So for the IKI-TAU tool, since we've both working for it, and with I've worked with Andrea with it from the start until it's finished now. Thing, as with everything, it's in German now, but we are planning on publishing it also in English. So now it needs to be finished in German first, and I think we'll have a couple of years where it will just be in German to prove itself. It's a tool that has been validated, so it has been run through it's a proper research project. It's not just something that's an informal assessment, but it's like a proven to be right assessment. For the functional vision, we actually use, apart from one test, we use tests that already exist, but we adapt them to either people with conventional means of communication and to people without. So, for example, for your son. And those tests, they already exist. For example, it's I don't know if some of you know the Leah cards, the Hiding Heidi, stuff like that. Well, we can get in more detail. And also for hearing now, what you said with the meaningfulness, that's a huge issue. So what we did, we developed an application for the phone and for tablets that can be linked to a Bluetooth loudspeaker, and there are pre-recorded sounds in the application. And it turns out all of those sounds are quite meaningful to the children. So it's a chirping of birds, it's an alarm, it's a dog barking, and we try to put several sounds on them that are on the frequency level from high to low or low to high. And then we can test by changing the volume to see when can we see a reaction. Of course, it sounds super easy now, but it's quite difficult, and it was quite a long process. And the meaningfulness is also important to us. That's why we made a tool to record yourself. So we could record your voice and present it to him and go like, oh, hi, Alex, nice that you're here. And then he hears it, and he might go, ooh, that's my mum. Where's that coming from?
Can the audiologists use that in place of what they normally use? Like, can we use that in that professional setting?
That would be the goal. But since there's so little audiometry places, that's why and since it's not medical, it's just an assessment. Yeah, but I think our time's running out.
Yes.
Sorry.
You've noticed I'm getting closer and closer to the stage. So yes, unfortunately, we do have to bring things to a close. Ines, Leah, I just want to thank you so much for being here and sharing this with us. Obviously, this has been a very engaging session for everyone. You're covering information on a topic that's obviously really important. So we do have a small gift here for each of you to thank you for being here. Thank you.